call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is a workshop with members of the Upton Conservation Commission and Open Space Committee to discuss acquisition of land in Upton Center. Do we have a forum with either committee? Would they need to call it to order, or are we fine?
Conservation should have a forum between being available online and in person.
Okay.
Open space has a forum as well.
So those chairs should open their
Okay.
meeting.
And for the open space committee, that we open your meetings.
Is Chris Scott on?
If I could read that far, I'd tell you, but
No, I Stella.
I'll open, as vice chair of the Conservation Commission, you would have me open the Conservation Commission.
thank you. Do I hear a second? Thank you. Okay. So, who would like to take lead on this?
I can get us started.
Sure.
First, also want to recognize for the board and Conservation Commission and Open Space Committee, we have Steve Chaplin with MTC. There are new town councils, because if we do take action on this, it would likely transition past July 1st, and felt that if we were going to have something up front, since it would go beyond the next couple of weeks, depending on what we do.
Okay. Welcome.
Nice to be here. Nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Oh, and let me put this up on the screen. I think most people are aware of the recent MLS listing for 12-B Milford Street. This is a property that is on a peninsula in Mill Pond, with the town's interest in open space and various work of Conservation Commission and open space on parcels. With this coming on the market this close to Upton Center, talking with Chair, want to put this on for general discussion as a workshop, because if we did want to pursue acquisition of this a adjacent parcel to connect to that parcel E, which is also Heritage Park, we need to have some level of consensus and take some sort of action, which then we are prepared to go. We're posted for executive session if it is deemed necessary. So this parcel 18 on the screen, as well as 19A, these two parcels are identified in the Upton Center visioning plan, basically as pedestrian connections, creating a link to Heritage. There are other open space parcels that Open Space Committee as well as Conservation are considering. So as part of this discussion, the workshop is an opportunity to just discuss, is this something that we should pursue? If it's not, we don't need the decision if we don't. And sort of just general thoughts as far as where this would stand in relation to other parcels that either committee is looking for, and whether or not this would elevate above those parcels. This parcel is going to be pretty constrained due to not only pre-existing non-conforming status, it is in a business district, and it is a residential use, and you also have constraints associated with the fact that it's surrounded on three sides by Mill Pond and has no direct frontage as itself, and it's only accessed through a deeded right of way across 12.
So I see 19.1 highlighted, but are you talking about 18 and 19.1? Like I'm
So the one
getting
that-
confused. So
it-
why aren't, so
I
those
think-
both should be
I
highlighted.
can
It is,
clarify.
it's around the side.
18 is, if this didn't translate well, 18 is listed on MLS. That's 12-B. It is accessed through number 17, and you see the right of way.
Yeah.
19.1 is a property held by the Gilchrist family
Yeah, I was just,
that is undevelopable.
I got it. I was
But
just,
you can see it ties into Heritage Park. Joe and I meet often. When I saw this on MLS and in the public realm, you know, we are losing a tremendous amount of parking downtown. Once they put the roundabout in, our businesses, parking is already tight. In the visioning plan, I do believe they were thinking of perhaps some additional parking, kayak launches, perhaps, somebody said to me the other day, wow, that'd be a great spot for a pontoon dock and the kids could fish. You know, more like a park. I know the Gilchrist. I grew up with them. I grew up on this. We still live on the same street. I happened to see them at Fireman's Sunday, and I said, would the family have any interest in selling 19.1 to the town? And they spoke, and they did say they would consider, you know, depending on price, but they would consider offering it to the town. Yes. And we all know the hoops you have to jump through, but if we could put an access way, I think it would really, I think it would do nothing but benefit downtown, especially for the visioning plan. Directly, for those of you who don't know, 21 is the Rose Garden, 19 is the hair salon, 17 is Leclerc's. So directly across from the community center to orient everyone. So does anyone have any, this is a workshop. This is very free flowing. You don't have to be formal. Raise your hand, speak up, voice your opinion. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments?
I think one thing to be noted about 19.1 is it's mostly wetland, and so I'm not sure that you could probably put a path, whether you could put a road like an access road.
I don't know either. I know when I did overview, it's almost like a culvert goes directly through it. You would know better than us.
I haven't been to the property side.
Yeah, I haven't walked the property. I
I've
never really thought about it, to tell you the truth.
I've walked the property because this is a parcel that we've talked about acquiring before and have talked to the Gilchrist in the past. And, you know, you'd have to get some grace from Conservation Commission, I'm sure, but the idea was sort of a raised walking path on the right-hand side of the parcel. So I'm looking at GIS and you can see there's a little more room to work on the right-hand side of the parcel. And because Heritage Park is on the right-hand side of the parcel, that would be sort of a connection point. Access from the road, you'd have to put a cut into the guardrail or whatever. So there'd have to be some accommodations made there, but it is mostly doable.
Do you think we could get something wide enough for a road?
No way. Definitely not. No, I don't think you could easily get a walking path in there. I think you'd
Okay.
have to sort of work and recognize, make a little exception here. We're gonna do some reclamation somewhere or something. Like, it's that wetland nugs right up to that property line.
Like I said, I've never even,
Yeah, I've sort of walked that ridge
Okay.
along with side and on the Heritage Park side. So I've sort of looked pretty closely at that. And it's a great concept, you know, whether or not we could execute it or not, I don't know. I think, you know, when we talked about it, that obviously that's a parcel that has very limited potential use. And so I think
it is undevelopable.
right. So I think it would, you know, we'd have to make sure that we got that, you know, recognized. And I think when we spoke with them last time, it was just too far off from being a realistic conversation. But if you know them, that's great. That will certainly help.
Well,
That's all I know about that parcel.
because my thought was if we could access the rear parcel that way, because right now the right of way does go directly by Mrs. Leclerc's house. You know, a right of way that's never been used or used by one house is very different than a public right of way. With a parking lot, yes, so.
Is it more like swampland or just wet?
It's fully immersed in
Immersed,
water. Yeah, it's
Food program?
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like boat waders land, I'd say. It's more like waders, but it's not like it dries out in the summer fully or anything like that. It's not. It's wet.
Well,
It's wet. And it was probably a little less wet when Mill Pond was down, 4 feet or so, but now that Mill Pond is back up, I'm sure it's right back up.
I know many, many years ago, there was a house there, that's why. I just believe there was.
On 12 feet. On the peninsula lot.
No, on 19.
19 or 19 point?
Not a-
19.1, there was a house there many years ago. Many, many years ago. Hey, times change, beavers are prolific.
Sure.
Hmm.
How does the wetlands affect the 18 part? Which is surrounded, it's like
Yeah, I
a
think-
peninsula.
I think 18 is mostly upland, right?
Yeah.
It's an
All
upland
dry.
parcel, so it's a very nice parcel. I think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful picturesque spot.
You
For
can
sure.
see it when I walked
Yeah.
down to school, I see it. With me. Michael, when we mapped the wetlands, was this area included when we did the downtown and we mapped the wetlands?
Oh, you mean, very recently, no, that was not included, by.
Okay, Uplands.
The peninsula is going to be under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission for a 200-foot buffer. So anything and everything proposed for that needs to go through conservation.
Because of the pond.
That doesn't give it, right, so that really doesn't give it unless you were to.
Right, because I think the peninsula is less than 200 feet wide. So,
And
200 foot.
yeah, not that you can't do anything with it, but it.
I mean, I would say, right, like, for me, the parcel to potentially put in a walking path to Heritage Park. We had always talked about that as, part of the downtown vision and making it a walkable area and creating access and connection to a network of sort of green space. So, I think that's fantastic. I think it's a pretty bar to get from here to actually. When we start talking about redeveloping that peninsula into a town park, that starts to get to me to we've got a lot of other things that we're not getting done. So we would just be adding another thing that we're not going to get done. We've got trash property, we've got downtown we're trying to do in other areas and other ideas. Feels like it would be a lot of work to figure out if that was even feasible to get access to that space for a particular use.
Mill Pond up now, would that affect the uplands on that parcel, 19.1?
No, it was pretty up. It's a few feet up, yeah. So it's not like it's sort of right at water level. It's kind of like raised up. It's beautiful. I mean, I would love to make it public space, believe me.
The thought was because it was on the
Yeah.
open market,
Yeah.
things don't last in town.
Yeah.
in the open market.
For sure.
So actually conceivably, you could use the existing right of way to 18 as pedestrian access.
Yeah.
And then perhaps put a bridge in. Up
And cross, still,
across, up the top there where they all abut.
That would be, yeah,
that's a thought.
that's another idea. Yeah. And then just newly, I don't know what the right word is, right? But you could put it on maybe it's a long-term development plan. It's initially just, hey, this is going to be open space and it's almost, we could, right? Basically, we could take a concept of expanding Heritage Park to include this peninsula. And so now you've got this sort of contiguous space around Mill Pond that's protected, that's available to the public, and that's usable and accessible. And, if someday there's more development we could do with that peninsula that would increase the benefit to the town and people would like to do that, maybe we could do that. But I would be more open to, acknowledging to ourselves, hey, you know what? We may try to pursue this parcel without the expectation that we're going to do a lot anytime soon.
No.
We're going to basically make it available to the public. It can become a part of Heritage Park. We'll try to connect it with a bridge or a bridge across, whatever we figure out is the best way to do it. And that sort of will be the short-term goal will be put these 3 parcels together and connect them for pedestrians. And then we know in the back of our minds, long-term, or we hand it off to somebody else
10,
today.
20, 30 years.
Maybe,
whatever.
what, if we, maybe Leclerc wants to do something or they downsize or we're moving something and we say, you know what, yeah, let's do something different with this property. But I would be open to that. Potentially taking the house out if it's not,
Well, the house has been
Historic.
condemned.
yeah,
It needs to be torn down.
so get it out of there.
So I think that's what spurred it going on the market was the Board of Health.
It's all done.
The building department, the police department had numerous complaints.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, vandals.
Yeah.
From the videos of fire, you don't need another cold storage.
Oh.
So things like that.
And that's where, as far as from a thinking of it as a project, we would have to, like we did for the Verizon building next to Racine, we'd have to identify costs and funding source for demoing it and disposal. But, you know, from existing properties we've had experience with, you know, we're in the 30 to 50 range for disposal, depending on exactly what's.
You get it cleaned up, it becomes a nice
The size.
field, it's open, people can go there and fish, they can, I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful if open space committee voted on this? I would be willing to make a motion for, I'm on the open space committee. I think we have a,
I'd like to get, Joe, I'd like to get both committees' feelings, yes, on if this is something you think we should at least pursue.
Okay, so I just make a motion. I move that the open space committee support acquisition of the two parcels. I'm not sure, it's 19.1 and what's the second one?
18.
And 18, parcels 18 and 19.1 as open space to benefit Heritage Park and the residents of Upton.
Okay.
And first and seconded, is there any further discussion from the Open Space Committee? All right, we'll do a voice vote. Bill, aye.
My God.
I think we have Todd, or I'm sorry, Tom Dodd online.
Tom Dodd, aye.
So that's a unanimous action of the members present.
Thank you. Do we have any opinion from conservation?
Yeah, I think conservation is on board with this.
Do I hear a motion from conservation? Do you have a quorum?
We do have a quorum, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Yeah,
We
So-
actually discussed this at our last meeting.
which I wasn't at.
I would love to hear the discussion.
I'd love to hear the discussion that you had, if you were in favor or not favor, or
Definitely in favor.
Yeah.
Definitely in favor.
One of the things we may want to also, if there's consensus of the board, may want to chime in on that too, is inquire with Attorney Chaplin's next steps and how we should handle formulating this. Our posted for executive sessions so that we can more about negotiating this and all those things, but it may be beneficial to get some input from town council as far as.
I think so. The next step, yes. Do you think we should enter into executive session, or how should we move forward from there?
Sounds wonderful. We're moving forward with the negotiation to acquire real estate. That is one of the reasons to enter into executive session
Okay,
for good reason.
okay. So, okay. Go ahead.
Would there
Marie,
be,
do you have a comment?
I'll ask Bill.
Do you want,
Would
if
there
we,
be
wait a minute, if we're gonna talk finances, we should be in executive session?
I would recommend that.
Okay. Hold the thought, please.
I recommend that we do that, not in
Okay.
a public meeting, so
Okay.
so that we don't broadcast to the sellers of the property.
Okay.
What our
Intentions are,
intentions.
okay, so, do I hear motion to move into executive session?
Oh.
For A?
For A, right? Okay, first one. I move that the board enter into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, exception number 6. Consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. 12B Milford Street and 0 Milford Street. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Exceptions 3. That's another one. Is that another one
We'll handle all
We
of
have-
the executive session together.
together? Okay. Section number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body. Holabrook Builders LLC, and under Mass General Law, Chapter 214 S 1B, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40 S 7, Clause 220, 26C, to discuss financial assistance to residents in need.
Go here, second.
Or you have to-
I second.
Have to second.
Right.
Is after second.
Need a second? I second.
The chair declares that an open meeting have the.
Trying to take over already. The chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. Roll call vote.
Maureen Winnell, aye.
Brett Simon's aye.
Laura have I, unanimous.
Okay.
The board will reconvene in open session after.
Just for clarity for anyone who is on the Teams, I did send an invite to a separate Teams meeting for the open space and conservation members. So Christine and Marcella and anyone else that's conservation or open space, if you can just look in your email for that separate link.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting, everyone. It's 7:19. I will open the hearing for the National Grid poll hearing for 44 Milford Street in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 166, subsection 22. The Upton Select Board will hold a public hearing on a petition from Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. The petition requests permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way. National Grid proposes to install 2 JO poles, remove 2 JO poles, and relocate 1 JO pole on Milford Street, beginning at a point approximately 17 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Milford Street. The proposal includes installing 1 40-foot C3 pole and 1 45-foot C2 pole, relocating and replacing 1 45 C2 pole, replacing 2 existing 45 feet C2 poles, and add an anchor and guy wire per petition sketch. The removal of 2 existing poles is also part of the request. Plan number 309-27290 is on file at the town manager's office. This public hearing will take place at 6:30 p.m. or more likely 7:20 on Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 at Upton Town Hall, 2nd floor conference room, 1 Main Street. Published June 3rd, 2025. I request a motion to formally open the public hearing.
I move we open the public hearing for the public.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brett Simon's aye.
Laura have I, unanimous. Presentation from National Grid. I recognize Felix Aben. National
ma'am.
Grid, I believe you're here online.
I'm here.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for waiting.
Not a problem. Nice meeting you.
I can hear.
Yeah, yes. Alex, if you can hear us, if you can just enunciate a little bit more, you're a little low in the meeting room.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Better? Okay. This one seems a little pretty straightforward on our end. We're approached by the DOT. I understand they have some construction work going on Route 140 around House 44 Milford Street. They were requesting us to they requested National Grid to relocate a couple of poles. And by us relocating those poles, we're requesting permission from you guys for us to put those poles in the new respective locations. And by us locating the poles, we'd also need new poles that were not originally in our system to accommodate, the new pole location. And all of this is due to the work on Route 140 that intersection is being widened.
So for the board, this is the intersection that, one of the many state projects that they're undertaking. This is MassDOT is gonna be replacing a culvert that is, that goes under Milford Street at the intersection of Prospect and Milford. What they're also doing is teeing up the intersection. And, that's where currently the existing pole, and why it's being relocated, would actually be in the middle of interfering with the realignment of Prospect. It will be more teed up as opposed to how it's sort of split right now.
And that's just a big pile of rocks down there, and it's sort of away from the homeowner's, house dwelling, so.
Yeah.
They're good with it.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? On board?
Dennis looked at it. It looks good to me based on what I know.
Okay.
I move that the select board vote to approve National Grid's request to erect 2 pole and replace 2 poles, including associated anchors.
Sorry, point of order, you want to?
Proceed with the public
Oh,
comment.
yeah.
And public.
Sorry. Oh, boy.
It's
I
okay.
jumped the gun on that one.
Yay, I tried to. That's okay. Is there any public comment regarding these polls? Hearing none. I request a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Simon side.
Laura have I, unanimous. And we've closed the public hearing. I asked for a motion on the pole placement request.
I move that the select board vote to approve National Grid's request to erect 2 pole and replace 2 poles, including associated anchors and guide wires in the vicinity of 44 Milford Street as shown on the sketch plan submitted and in accordance with the petition dated April 2nd, 2025.
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simon side.
Laura have I, unanimous. Congratulations, we approved you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next would be review and execution of amendment to intermunicipal agreement between Upton and Blackstone for public health nurse services.
So, our current IMA with Blackstone for public health nurse services expires June 30th. I've talked with the town administrator for Blackstone, and with the announced retirement of our public health nurse, we're just extending under existing terms, although with updates to reflect compensation from Blackstone to Upton included in that amended document, just extending that document from July 1st, 2025 through March 30th, 2026.
Any questions, comments?
Just the timing, why is it July 1st to March 30th as opposed to?
Basically nine months. And that will give us, she's going to be retiring the end of February. This gives us a
Okay,
bit
got
of
it.
time.
I got it.
Once we get past July 1st, Chad Lovett, the town administrator, not to mention that, we'll have to get our boards of health together and start having a discussion as far as what services, and that basically will give us 8.5 months to figure out the successor arrangement, either through a contract such as this, or maybe utilizing other services. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to execute the amended intermunicipal agreement between Upton and Blackstone for public health nurse services for the period of July 1st, 2025 to March 30th, 2026.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Next is review and execution of the amendment to the June 21st, 2022 ELRB contract. Joe?
So before the board, and it's in your amended packet, I included sort of a similar short contract that just codifies the Board of Health Department agreement extension, basically updating the terms to from 2025 to 2028. It identifies 3 years with increases plus recycling processing fees based on current market. Everything else stays the same. The only other change is that the Harvey will have to, Harvey's will have to submit new license and bond documents as required. So Board of Health and specifically Diane Tiernan for the last almost 6 months has been evaluating whether or not it's worth going out to bid or working with Harvey and Sons to negotiate a contract. Harvey and Sons is on the state bid list. And actually in a procurement law, collection and recycling does not require that you go out for bid. It is allowed for an exemption. So working directly with DL Harvey, especially because they're on the bid list, is appropriate. And the Board of Health had decided to continue with DL Harvey, given the relationship that we have.
Both the relationship and the financial savings. Yes. They were significantly low. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to execute the amended contract for curbside collection of refuse and recyclables for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Police officer appointments. Joe?
Okay, so before you have for Bennett Mariel as a police officer with the Upton Police Department, looking for the board's support in his appointment for the.
Questions, comments?
Great.
No. Do I hear a motion?
The select board vote pursuant to section 4, subsection A, subsection I of the Town Manager Act to approve the town manager's proposed appointment of Harold as a police officer with the
Second the motion.
All in favor? Unanimous. Senior Center minivan funding approval.
Okay, so this has been a long.
Did we already do that?
So the board had authorized the use of welfare funds, but we didn't have a dollar figure and we had to go through the procurement process. So originally, when we talked about funding, it was our hope to work with, because there are our vendors on the state bid list, we want to work directly with the state under the state contract. However, in the research that Tanya had done, our ESS director, the timelines that they then had for building a van basically would have been resulting in waiting a whole year where they shut things off and they wouldn't open things back for 6 months. Then working with and consulting with adjacent town administrators and managers, there was another procurement group that they had used, both most recently Oxford. So we started evaluating that. Tanya had specifically been looking at inventory with a specific auto dealer that then specializes in municipal vehicles and handicap vehicles. And so we were trying to get them to fall under this other procurement. In the end, that company decided not to participate. So then we said, let's just go out. We put out an invitation for bid. That deadline was last Tuesday. We got 3 responses. And in your packet, have the bid tabulation score sheet where Model 1 commercial vehicles was the successful and lowest bidder. They can provide exactly what they were looking for, delivery within 30 days of execution of the contract. And this is also for less than what originally the cost that was brought for the board, what it could be acquired for. Well, one, you're not going to recognize that name because they changed their name. They are the same company that then sold us the COA van. So it is a company that we have. And again, this is for specifically a 2024-2025 Toyota Sienna. There was a lot of research that Tanya had done on specific recommendations from other COAs as far as experience in other vehicles. And we're happy that to be able to bring this before the board to execute and start signing necessary paperwork to get that here.
Questions, comments?
No.
Nope.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to amend its October 15th, 2024 motion.
Sure.
Yeah, and to authorize the expenditure of $66,375 to purchase a handicap accessible minivan plus associated costs for registering and lettering the vehicle from the Ristine B Welfare Trust Fund, to award the contract to Model One as the successful bidder, and to authorize the town manager to sign the necessary contractual documents.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Boy, Joe, you're on fire.
Speaking of fire, as everyone will see, we currently are under construction of our parking lot. Pavement was just ripped up today and they're doing grading. We will have the binder course down by the end of the week. And this project will be wrapped up before June 30th. I'd like to thank Dennis Westgate for his work in coordinating this. These are contractors that we have under contract. And the work that they do is really great. This is going to get us 6 additional parking spaces and actually correct a existing ADA issue we had, because the handicap parking space was across the parking lot. And this will bring it right up to the handicap grant.
Nice.
Town is in full swing on the capital improvement plan. The last meeting mentioned we had a kickoff meeting with department heads. Currently, staff is working with staff in the Collins Center to inventory town buildings and equipment, and they're working on getting capital project proposals into the Collins Center for a deadline of July 18th. We're finalizing designer contract language with Weston Sampson for the DPW project. One of the things coming in at the end of the year is quite a bit of work is coordinating the town council transition, making sure that existing projects, we know exactly where they are, identifying what needs to happen as far as just transferring those case files. There are some where if they're at a spot, it's very easy to transfer over. Others, they're so close. It's like, okay, this is a closing associated with recording acceptance of a street. Just finish that. So Brian Mazer with KP as well as Jay Tellerman with MTC. We've been conversing as far as making sure everything is handed over for July 1st switch over. And as you saw from tonight, when there are things we anticipate to go beyond July 1st, I'm engaging MTC to bring them on in, because it does not make sense to engage someone for a week just to hand things over. Within Town Hall, we've had IT staff and the contractor try to go through all the equipment, make sure that the issues are resolved. We'll see if they were successful tonight as far as the recording. Our network, everything's been all set. We've verified all the equipment. The last thing is basically under this little screen, this little computer. If we have some of the performance issues, we're just going to order a new one. We have existing equipment that we can basically just take care of, but they wanted to make sure that there was no other network. This is now hardwired instead of over Wi-Fi. There's no other issues that we're producing it. So if we have any of those glitches, we're swapping that out July 1st. Associated with that, I'm completing the IT closeout, the closeout of the IT grant that funded this, as well as the meeting room for Mendon Upton Regional School District. That involves getting all of the reports, all of the invoices in, reporting back to the state. That needs to be done before the end of the fiscal year. Fiscal reconstruction, the contractor broke ground.
We can do the patching and painting of the holes in the wall.
That will arrange with the existing town staff to be working through that. Yeah, exactly.
I just didn't want those guys to disappear and then.
No, that was always going to be done. Fiscal reconstruction, they broke ground today. You've seen them placing structures, getting everything all set, but they broke ground officially today. For the next meeting, I've asked sunshine signs, sunset sound, sunshine signs.
That's a tough one.
They had originally given us the proposals for the community electronic board. I've asked for them to just identify some other designs of the structure so that at the next meeting can bring everything to you and you can see a couple of other options just to see which fits more within the design aesthetic of the town. At last Friday's Coffee with the Town Manager, met with 8 residents. We were joined by Sergeant Rankins, who gave a discussion of the town's Silver Alert program. Also, the residents raised issues such as why the town doesn't have a leaf recycling or curbside pickup program, process for requesting removal of trees from rights of way, disruptive behaviors of children at the community center parking lot, status of Fisk Ave, and then also the status of Russell Court. Susan and Kathleen in the town clerk's office have been busy following the board's reappointment of board members last meeting. We've also published on the website and on social media a notice of vacancies on town boards and ask that people start, if they want to volunteer, look at opportunities and submit applications in, start for considering on July 1st for that month. The last Wednesday, we had the Memorial Elementary Schools visit. 3rd graders came, visited various town offices at Town Hall, the community center, and the museum at the Racine Building. Great to see all the kids. It was a great day. Weather could not have been better, and they got to see us demo work on the parking lot as well. The Green Community Streetlight conversion project is almost done. Town staff, myself, Bill Taylor, the contractor, CMRPC staff are finalizing reporting that's required through the grant. DPW has now completed street sweeping. Catch basin cleaning is going on, will be completed by June 30th. And just wanted to highlight the following events. Coming in this coming Saturday, the 21st, is the Upton Men's Club Fireworks Festival at BBT. Events start at 5 o'clock. If you go to the Upton Upton Men's Club. There we go. Website. They have a full list of activities starting at 5 o'clock all the way through 9 o'clock when the fireworks start. On Monday, June 23rd, that's when the Economic Development Committee is going to be having the West Upton Center Working Group meeting. That's going to be at the community center in the great room at 7 p.m. And also just a reminder, especially since next week it's going to be hot, Kiwanis Beach is now open 7 days a week starting this coming Monday, June 23rd.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Public input or board members update. Does anybody in the public have any input, questions, comments? I see nothing in the room. I don't see anything online. Am I correct? Either one of you two have any comments, questions, updates?
Coming as we go.
Okay, there we go. That was easy. All right, appointments, resignations, and dissolving committees, annual reappointments.
In the board's packet, we have 2 members for reappointment. Brittany Bessler, Select Board's representative on CPC, and also Russell Wood to the Historical Commission. Both would be serving 3 years.
I think they're volunteering. It's always a bonus for us. Do I hear motions?
I move that the select board vote to reappoint Brittany Bessler as the select board representative on the Community Preservation Committee and Russell Wood to the Historical Commission, both serving 3-year terms.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Congratulations and thank you very much. We appreciate it. Annual new appointments.
So Under this section, we had previously passed over some appointments, and these have to do with not only town council, but also some positions that staff is appointed to. So we have 1-year appointments and then also 3-year.
Do I hear a motion?
I'm gonna do them all at once.
I think so.
Yeah, and
As presented, yes.
everybody's good with what's here,
I'm good
okay.
with that, yeah.
I move that the select board vote to make the following appointments for a period of 1 year. Mead, Callerman, and Costa as town council, Elder and Social Services Director Tanya Paparazzo as ADA coordinator, town clerk M. Denise Smith, and police chief Nicholas Palmieri as records access officers, DPW director Dennis Westgate as tree warden, and treasurer collector Jessica Gomez as custodian of tax title properties. And move that the select board make the following appointments for a 3-year term. Fire Chief Michael Marchand as Forest Fire Warden, DPW Director Dennis Westgate as Trench Permitting Authority for Rights of Ways, and Building Commissioner Jonathan Nachu as Trench Permitting Authority for Private and Public Property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Before we move on to the next. With advertising now for vacancies on the website, that we'd like to start to see the applications submitted, and then any that are received by June 26th, we can then put on the July 1st meeting. That way we can sort of group them together. We did start to receive some applications over the weekend, but because the agenda wasn't posted then, want to push that on to the July 1st meeting.
So I'd like to recognize the resignations. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the board vote to thank the following volunteers for their service to the town of Upton. David Brooks, Economic Development Committee and Technology Committee, Gary Richards, Lakes, Ponds and Streams, Gavin Jones, Mosquito and Tick Control Board, Sierra Huntress, Open Space Committee, John Daly, Technology Committee, David Lane, Technology Committee, Stephen Rackerton, Technology Committee, Donna Kempton, Historical Commission, John Westerling, Personnel Board.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much for serving. We appreciate it. Every
Thank you.
hour served is an hour away from your family, and it truly is appreciated. As I say, none of us do it for the fame or the fortune. We do it for the love of town. Thank you. So next would be the vote to dissolve committees.
Okay.
Right here.
So I don't know, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We have a couple that the work was completed, but we don't really have a formal record. And this is something that, and working with Sue on this, we'd like to just develop more of a process that once the work is done, acknowledge and then close out the committee.
Love it. I move that the select board vote to dissolve the following committees for the following reasons. The Cable Advisory Committee, work was transferred to the Technology Committee. Housing Production Plan Steering Committee, the work is complete. Technology Committee, requested to be disbanded. Town Center RFP Committee, work is complete.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next would be an application for the use of the town common 140 Arts Collaborative. Hi, welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it scintillating?
Yeah. it's fun.
We're live every first and third Tuesday.
May I present some fact sheets?
Yes, please. And we need your name for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Erica McGowan Valberg at 225 North Street.
Thank you.
So we did host our first inaugural Canvas and Coffee at the Town Common in May. And we did have 27 people attend over the course of 2 hours. 4 of them under the age of 10. 2 high school students, a couple family members. It seemed to be quite the family affair. Everyone brought their own form of art. We had some people who sketched, who painted, a tattoo artist who practiced on paper. Somebody brought their dog, well behaved. We did have coffee donated to us by Starbucks, although I would prefer that we start sourcing locally and talking to local businesses, so it could be a mutual beneficial event. We're looking to do it again, hopefully near the last Saturday of every month. I've got the applications in for July, the end of June and July. I'll come back with another application for August. It was really fun at the end of the meeting. At the end of the event, everyone said how much they loved it and they wanted it to be a monthly event.
Questions or comments? No, they look like they had fun.
You're absolutely welcome to join. You want to come?
I saw it. I think I work weekends unfortunately, but it looked like it was well attended.
Yeah,
And it might have been one of the few sunny days.
It was sunny just long enough. As soon as we wrapped up, it started raining.
Yes, that's always important.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? If not, do I hear a motion?
No, this is great. I'm a big fan. Fantastic. It's great to see the activity and all the work coming to fruition. So
Thank you.
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to execute the application for use of town common on Saturday, June 28th and July 26th, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. as presented.
second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you
we'll
very
see you again for August.
Yeah, we would.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything else you need from me?
Thank you. We appreciate you coming.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, sir. And the patience, yes. Sometimes it's frustrating with that.
No.
Stephen Chief, you're up. Fire Department Transition Plan and Safer Grant Submission Authorization. Good evening. Good to see both of you.
Yeah. Joe, did you get the?
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring this up right now.
A new one. Okay, so we've been having some discussions with the town manager regarding a transition plan and plan for the future. So I submitted a document. We'll have talks about the transition and support plan moving forward. Some of the things that we'd like to do and that are important to the department. So I have a brief PowerPoint that just kind of highlights the high points in this document. We'll go through that if we can go to the next slide. So basically the document starts with an executive summary that covers everything that we're looking to do moving forward. And part of the strategic plan is moving myself from interim public safety director to director of emergency management or a similar position to continue to help the department move forward with stability and policy and admin services. Our immediate focus is to fill some of our vacancies. So we have 2 vacant positions that we need to fill on the fire side, fire EMS. What we'd like to do is looking for firefighter paramedics, but there is some obviously difficulty nationwide trying to find firefighters. So we'll talk about that. Quiet, please. So part of our organizations, we're looking to promote our captain's positions to assistant chief to provide some operational oversight and also provide some coverage when the chief is not. Right now, the captain really has those duties, but he should be at the assistant chief level. Also, to continue the process that we started last year before negotiations were completed to promote 2 of our firefighters to open company lieutenant positions. So we run a 4-company system that runs, they're on duty every 4th day and they cover some of the overnights, especially for firefighters. So we want to get some some supervision on, permanent supervision on those company systems. Next, well, this will allow us to improve, like I said, the command structure and the career development, and it supports the operational readiness. Hopefully gives us an internal pipeline to promote officers in the future. Next slide. So our career staffing and development plan, we're looking to hire those 2 full-time firefighter paramedics by the end of this year. What we may have to do, which I anticipate we're going to have to do, is try to find experienced firefighting EMTs and develop them like we did with 2 of our other firefighting EMTs. Continue to recruit on the call side, and that's essential for responding to events, especially for fire scenes and large accident scenes. And taking some of those new people and hopefully developing them into firefighter paramedics in the future.
And if I may, Chief, just to explain these 2 full-time firefighters, those are existing.
Those are in the budget. Yeah, those are existing vacancies that we have. So our paramedic recruitment challenges, there is a nationwide shortage of paramedics. They are in high demand and there's limited supply. Part of those issues are the cost and duration of training programs. I think people are less apt to put themselves through those programs to become paramedics. So we need to look locally in putting them through the program and using our training funds to find some dedicated firefighting EMTs that are interested in moving up to the next level. And with that, hopefully there'll be a commitment to stay here. And there are some strategies that we can use to, through reimbursement, to keep them here for a period of time while they fulfill their commitment. So, and the other part of this is fire chief continuity plan. Chief Marchand's approaching his 65-year age limit under the current statute, which will be in August of 2027. Correct? Correct. Okay. So we're looking to extend his service beyond 65. He's more than willing and interested to stay and lead the department. And I think it's crucial for the department to have his leadership beyond 65. So we'd be looking for a home rule petition through town meeting and then through the legislator to allow that to happen. That's something that happens in a lot of small communities and some larger communities too, with both police and chiefs. Slide. So part of our plan is right now we have 7 full-time positions, firefighter EMTs / firefighter paramedics. What we're looking to do, and we had a lot of conversation about this during negotiations with the union, is to bring on an 8th career member so we can have 2 people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on a 4-day rotation. To do that, we're looking to submit a SAFER grant. SAFER stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire Emergency Response Programs. That is through FEMA, and that is a grant that's awarded to fire departments for staffing purposes. It's a 3-year grant, and we'll get into some of the next slide. So what that grant does, it's a cost sharing grant. So the first year and the second year, FEMA covers 75% of the firefighter's cost. And that in cost includes base salary, benefits, life insurance, medical insurance, up to, there's a limit of $90,000. So they'll pay 75% of that for the first 2 years. The third year, that drops down 35%. So those first 2 years, it kind of eases you into taking over that position by the 4th year that the town is fully funded. So looking at that and our increase in service, increase in population over the next 3 to 4 year period, this is a way to bring somebody on and really ease into that cost for an additional. So here's the timeline and what's in this organizational plan. In transition plan, what we'd like to do now is promote somebody to assistant chief and the 2 lieutenants. Again, these are already within our budget. There's no additional cost. Submit a SAFER grant. We're looking
to submit that by July 3rd is when the deadline is. And really the ask today is, yes, go forward with that grant. There's really no commitment until if we are fortunate enough to be awarded the grant and then decide to take that grant. So there's no risk in saying, yes, we want to do that now, and then the financial picture changes when the grant's awarded. We can certainly deny the grant if we need to. By August, September, we're looking to come up with a home rule petition and have that on the fall town meeting warrant for the voters to vote on that, then submit that to the legislator, and that would be for the chief's position. Between now and the end of the year, to continue to recruit and hire 2 full-time people that are already budgeted for. It'd be great if they're paramedics. If not, we'll have to find some experienced EMTs that we can put through a paramedic program. And we do have funds that are budgeted in the training budget for reimbursement. We've done that with 2 other employees in the past. And that's part of our launching our paramedic advancement program, whether it's in-house people or people that we bring in full-time, is to hopefully promote and get people to take the test so that we can have, full ALS, 2 paramedics, 24 hours a day in the future. And then obviously after that is evaluate how that plan is going and what the outcomes are. Slide. So basically, we think this provides us a strong roadmap of where we want to go and how we're going to get there to having 24-hour service with 2 people on duty, 24 hours a day, addressing the staffing shortages and the leadership plan moving forward, and really looking at some of the long-term investments and having that 8th person and moving people through a sums it up.
Very good. Chief, is there any way, when we pay for someone, is there any way to say, look, we'll put you through school, but you need to promise to stay, kind of like the Army or the military, or that's not feasible?
There are communities that do that. Depending on how it's structured, it can be difficult to enforce that. Some towns do it through a prorated reimbursement program for paramedics. So, they may get their reimbursement over a number of years for the course if they prepay it. The need is so great that we may have to prepay that and try to put in some contract language that they have to serve a couple of years. We'll certainly look into that further with the town council to see, what we can do to keep people here after we make that investment.
Right, I just know it's a bit, it's a more of a time, I mean, I know it's money, but I also know it's time.
Yes.
And it's gotta hurt when we, put somebody through training and then 2 months after they're gone.
Yeah, and we see that not only on the fire side, but the police side as well.
It happened with the fire department. We had 2 individuals go through the full-time fire academy. One was a paramedic, one wasn't yet. 1 month out of 1 and 1 day out of 1 from the academy. That's why we try to hire from within, using the call department as similar to like what the police department used to do with the dispatchers. You already know them. They're kind of committed to you. But people from the community that actually are here, they're not going to want to run. But that doesn't say they can't. To what the chief was speaking before about having them sign anything, I don't know of a department that, or a police, fire, or DPW or whatever, that where you can hire an employee and force them to stay. It's not like a private business where they can do it. It's different. It's very difficult. It's easy to get somebody to take a full-time firefighter EMT position, but we're committed to an ALS ambulance. Our career staff have to be firefighter and in order to make it work. Or if we didn't have the firefighter paramedics, we wouldn't have an ambulance. I wouldn't want to support it. Especially with the full-time staff. It makes it difficult. Made it difficult with union contract negotiations. There's other communities that hire full-time paramedic onlys. Larger communities, they got a little bit larger fire force, but we weren't successful in able to do that.
I mean, if you look through our plan, I do mention paramedic onlys as an option in the future. You know, if we can't find qualified paramedics, firefighter paramedics, or train firefighter EMTs up to that level, we may have to reconsider paramedic onlys and renegotiate the bargaining unit to do that as a last resort.
I know they're in supply. I suppose they can write their own ticket.
Yep.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, thank you, right? Like the written 6-page document with all the details in it, the summary, the timeline, like just from a managerial perspective, like having all of that outlined and in detail so well was really helpful to sort of be able to just understand what you're recommending and what you're doing and why. And more importantly, I want to thank you both for all the time, effort, work to orchestrate all of this, right? Like I have a lot of very dear friends that are firefighters in other towns and parts of other departments and parts of other town administrations. And there's a lot of challenge that some of these departments are rife with across the Commonwealth. And the two of you have run this to the point where we don't hear about it. And if we're not hearing about it, it's because you're leading in an effective way that keeps all of that whole team working together, rowing in the same direction, and it's fantastic. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a credit to the members of the department too, because a lot of them have stepped up and worked a lot of additional hours over long. Continue to do that, so we're successful. So we're grateful for that.
Awesome. So thank you.
You have great people.
Yeah.
You have worked both of you very hard to do what you do. And it's all about the money, really. And we're just not big enough to pay that.
Well, to me, it's,
Once you have the money, you're not gonna get the people.
yeah, I mean, it's a combination of, it's kind of a funny yin and yang. What we don't have is, I feel the money's up there now, but especially with the last contract, for both the career and the call people. I think we're successful with that, but we don't have a call volume. It's very difficult to take our 2 new paramedics and get them up to be able to run with a PB waiver by themselves because we don't have a call volume. So we're lucky. We do have a steady volume, but it's not the pace of Hopkinton's, Westboro's, Milford's, even Northbridge or even Oxbridge. Driving factor is they all have nursing homes. We don't, but we have a high over 55 population that we haven't done the numbers on it.
Getting more.
But the numbers are the numbers are there. Our numbers are kind of weird with the way we have, but it definitely is an increase with that.
And that's really going to drive the demand going forward is the increase in over 55 communities that we have and the aging population that we have. Those calls for EMS especially will increase. And EMS is 70 to 80% of our business right now. So it's really an important focus.
Yeah, it's the driving factor of the force, especially with the career staff. And the other thing too is with the over 55 development, and we all know some of the reasons why we encourage that in town. But, I mean, boards, committees, going on fire departments, doing different things. It's a different population to ask for them people to come and step up. So it's tough.
One other question I had was, I saw for the SAFER program, sort of the costs associated with that from the departmental budget perspective. And it's probably nominal, but I'm just curious, like the incremental cost or the added cost next year that we'll see for the 3 promotions, very well deserved. I'm sure if you're recommending these folks, then it's a very well deserved promotion. And obviously there should be a salary increase.
Those promotions are already built into the budget. So you won't see an increase. We already have set into the budget is that the assistant chiefs salary. We have those 2 lieutenants because they were existing positions that have been carried over.
So it's just filling those positions.
Filling those positions. And under the SAFER grant, it's 25% cost. So you're looking with salary benefits of probably $100,000. So the town would be responsible for that first year, that first and second year, and then it would jump up.
So the safer grant's a good
Thank you.
thing. What I would, and I spoke to Joe about it, is I don't want to see us take the safety grant. And there was recently a community that their entire career staff was on the safer grant. The town voted down their override and they don't have the career staff. They don't run the ambulance, but they lost all those guys. Unfortunately, none of them are paramedics. They were just firefighters. But
It's
you
an
know-
important way, when you take these federal grants that are 3-year grants, you have to be prepared to take on that cost in the 4th year, otherwise it's not worth
I think we've
it.
done it with a couple police officers.
We've done it in the past, on the police side.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
I think we'd be good.
Yeah, I think especially as our population ages, I think. Yeah,
Like me.
well,
Yeah, we had a discussion with Joe at one of our meetings about all the other departments pulling and what they think they need or don't need or whatever. I mean, it comes to play is what the town can afford. Last thing we want to do is hire people and have to lay them off.
Yep.
So.
It gives us flexibility and it allows for us to plan. Doesn't mean we don't budget more than, what the responsibility is to get used to it, to build it in.
Right.
So it also reflects that this is a commitment that when we're faced with other costs, we can say, well, this is a commitment we already used to make.
Right.
So.
So, I mean, bringing this forward, we really want to bring to your attention was what you'll see in the very near future is a safer grant coming across your desk and a home rule petition. And now you know how that fits into the whole plan.
I think having the transition plan is excellent. For the town, I think it's gonna ensure the stability of the department.
Yeah, we have a lot of ongoing projects going on. We have, the railroad transloading facility. We have a very large grant that we're working on for a repeated project for Hopedale and Upton. Chief was successful to get, along with everything else.
Right.
That we're planning to do. So hoping to get done.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your motion?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I move that the board vote to authorize the town manager to submit an application under the fiscal year 2024 staffing for adequate fire and emergency response safer program as presented. 2025.
2024 is correct because federal grants are always a year behind. So we
Okay.
go by the federal fiscal year and then their grants are a year behind. So it is that way, 2020.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Our liaison appointments. Everybody good at keeping things as they once were?
Yes.
Oh. I just lost.
You got Board of Health, Library, RecCom.
Mhm.
I got BBT, Planning Board, ZBA, Mosquito and Tick Control, Marine, Board of Assessor, FinCom, Capital Budget, Affordable Housing Trust, MURSD.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yep.
Okay. Bet.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Yes, please.
I move that the board vote to approve the liaison assignments as indicated in the additional information section of the packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Forest Heights Conservation Restriction Update. Who would like to come forward? Do you know who everyone is? Could we please have our names for the record?
Mike Tenko, 1 Grafton Road. I'm here representing Metacomet Land Trust. Conservation Division.
Lisa Mozinski, I'm president of the Metacomet Land Trust. Thank you.
Chris Taylor, I'm the chair of the Open Space Committee.
Thank you.
I guess I'll start. but Lisa, Bill, jump in, and then if you have questions, just ask.
Okay, well,
The board. Well, we want to give you an update on Forest Heights. As you probably know, we first talked about this last, I think, September, and Metacomet applied for what's called a Forest Reserve grant from the state, and we received it. And since then, we've been doing our due diligence work. We've had an appraisal done. The appraisal came out, the value of the land came out much higher than we had anticipated. It came out around $950,000, and the value of the conservation restriction that we hope to purchase from the town was $800,000. And to be honest, that's, I think, more than we could fundraise. The grant itself for the land acquisition part of the grant was only $200,000. So we had a big shortfall there. So what we did was, as you recall, Forest Heights has a frontage lot. It's a frontage lot. It has 239.99 feet of frontage, which is talked to the planning board, and that's considered a legitimate buildable lot in that zone. So what we did, we redid the appraisal to assume that the town would retain ownership of the frontage lot and could someday sell it for residential lot. And that got us down to $606,000. We just received that last week. Unfortunately, the grant administrator who we're dealing with has concerns about removing that frontage lot from the grant. She would need to amend the contract that Metacomet signed with the state in order to do that. She's really not willing to do that. She also has some concerns about public access. The public access of North Street goes through this frontage lot. We proposed basically an easement on the lot, which would provide public access through along one side of the lot. A very wide easement of 70 feet wide. We could also cover that strip of land with the conservation restriction, so that basically the owner of that residential lot just really couldn't interfere with trailer usage in any way. But the grant administrator, still has some problems with that. And she is not willing to amend the contract. But on the positive side, there's going to be another round of this forest reserve, most likely. She informed us about it. And it's not certain, but chances are this request for proposals will come out in the next several weeks, and the grant applications will be due probably November. So we have another chance to apply for a grant for purchase conservation restriction here, and we could again go for the entire property, or if the select board was amenable, we could remove that frontage lot from the grant application.
I just want to chime in to let you know that most of the time in these grant applications, you substantiate your request, monetary request, with an appraisal beforehand. And because this particular round, which was the first time they've ever done this, was tied to ARPA funds, and they needed to have them committed as soon as very quickly. They did not request that an appraisal was done first. So that's where we sort of, and she, she admits that this wasn't an ideal situation. She believes in the project, but in fact that the former appraisal and the guesstimate that we put in for the amount of money for the project happened to be just very far from what the appraiser came back with. And so, as Mike said, we want to probably participate in that next round. It will be reduced funds because they're going to take it out of the capital. They're hoping they get earmarked for the capital budget this time, but it will be probably more competitive, and it will be a reduced overall amount for the but with more information, we hope we can score as well as we did in the past, and also have a firmer footing as far as how much we should be asking, because this, of course, is a matching grant. So we would have to put, our request out there and then fundraise, et cetera, to have it matched.
And I think what we'd like to propose is, assuming this grant opportunity does arise, is come back and talk with selectmen, maybe an executive session to discuss the price of the CR that the town would be willing to accept, and whether the town would be willing to carve out that frontage lot, and which would help us to reduce the cost of the CR. But I don't think we really need to have that detailed discussion tonight. We just want to kind of give you an update on where we were and let you know that this grant that we did receive is probably going to be, I don't know if we're rescinded or just, we're going
right.
We're going to try that. Property definitely really high resource value. A lot of reasons to protect this property.
Questions? Comments? The update. I didn't know they had to do, I didn't know that the price was so high. What we talked about in the beginning.
There was an appraisal done in 16, I think, 2016, it was 585. And that was for the entire fee value of the property, not the CR. So here the fee value came out at $950, $40,000.
Yeah, the only thing I would say first is thank you. I totally trust Metacomment's ability to navigate this in the most effective in the most effective way possible. So thank you for that. Yeah, exactly. You're right. It's like this one's obviously turning into something that nobody necessarily signed up for initially. And so I would say personally, me as an individual, I'm very supportive of the project. We were supportive of it when it kicked off. We're supportive of maintaining it to the degree that, we can maintain that frontage lot as part of the protection. Great. But again, I trust Metacomment and your expertise to make the best decision for our goals as a town, which is sort of preserving the tract of land and connecting tracts of land in that area, and also recognizing that there's limitations that we have. So let's come to the best place that we can. I think you have our support to do just that.
I would agree.
Thank you.
However, however works best.
Well, there are still some unknowns with this new
Exactly.
round, and as far as whether it's a 50-50 match or other things. So that's why we'd appreciate coming back sooner and just talking about what configuration could work.
Exactly. I think, when you find out more, reach out to Joe or Sue, and we'll definitely put you on the agenda. 48 hours, all we need. We just have to post it, and usually post on Friday morning, so don't get us Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Joe is, but nobody else was.
I'd be more concerned about the town clerk.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we, so in order to make it for Tuesday night, we post Friday morning. So, but we're more than willing to have you come back at any time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And if it
a
becomes a
beautiful spot.
time crunch, you know, we can call a special executive session. Whatever works, because we understand these things are fluid and in flux and we roll the punches like we said earlier. We don't do anything else anyhow, we just.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Rolling right along. Project updates and discussion of future meeting topics.
So this is a updated list, and you're starting to see that July meetings are starting to get a little busy. I would like to ask for the board to, if you're not prepared tonight, then maybe over email, start looking at a calendar for scheduling a multi-board meeting. That's something that, you know, would be best as a separate event outside of a meeting schedule. And we get so busy focused on the work of the board and the town, scheduling something like what is a open-ended meeting, would like the board's input as far as what would work, and that way can respect your schedules, and then we can then plan around.
I think we discussed before, I think Brett.
19th to 26th, otherwise I'm around.
Honestly, Joe, except for his vacation schedule, and I'm not sure vacation schedule, if you're going somewhere, good for you, you too, you know, enjoy yourselves. But maybe just pick a date and see if it works. You know, I think if we try to get everybody to, it's not gonna work.
That's where it's really about the three of you. If
Yeah.
there's sometime middle of July, you'd like,
Right.
end of July.
Like I said, I know Brett's got a vacation. I don't know if you're going somewhere.
It's staycations.
I'm having a driveway.
I do have, that's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Are you doing a full depth reclamation or a mill overlay?
No, gonna have to, I don't
Dig the whole
know.
thing up?
It's,
Not sure
I
yet.
had potholes, I had
Oh, geez.
water
Yeah.
infiltration, I had, it's falling apart as we speak. It's
Not good.
not gonna be pretty.
Not good. All right. What is the outcome we're after for this multi-board meeting, and what boards are part of a multi-board meeting?
So in
Sorry,
my
I should probably know that.
in my experience, it basically it's an open invitation to all to sort of talk about what they're working on, what they see as challenges, what they see on priorities for the upcoming year. To make sure that the open line of communication with the board, and also to hear, you know, the board's priorities towards projects. We know from our discussion earlier tonight that you know, this is a unique opportunity that is presenting itself. But looking at the Open Space Committee's agenda, they have other parcels that they're talking about. And how do we, as many boards, identify how we bring that all together, bring it to the select board? Because ultimately it would be great to be able to get updates from them on some of these so that we know well in advance of warrant is open, and then you get an article, and where did this come from? Oh, they've been working on this for a year. Or things like Laura raised with Board of Health and noise and nuisance bylaws, making sure that there's interaction between planning. Basically is a touch base that many towns do it once a year to make sure that as we're looking at the year ahead, if there is an opportunity for coordination, but also it helps staff in setting goals and being aware of what the larger goal is for the town.
I know when I first came on the board and I took the mass municipal training, there were many towns that said they tried to do it twice a year. They try to do it, you know, in the slow time in December, January, and then July, August, just because you don't realize that, oh, this subdivision is coming. Oh, this is going to change that. Oh, this is, and they said it's a, you know, great what, because we don't talk. I mean, we don't know. We can't, there's no way with what we handle, we can watch conservation, planning, zoning. We see the big stuff, but we don't see the day-to-day stuff. And even I think just pass ideas like tonight with this, with, you know, hey, we first looked at the property and next thing you know, it's a future park, things like that. So we're all on the same page. I'd like to see it at least twice a year. It may happen, it may not, but, like I said, when I took my training, everybody raved about how well it works.
Look forward to seeing how we derive value from it.
Yeah,
It sounds like there's a lot of potential.
I think so, because I don't think we really know what's, you know, sometimes you see.
Yeah, I just,
Oh, this
I just
subdivision is
fear,
coming into play.
I just fear getting 40 people in a room together with no clear agenda is gonna really waste a lot of people's time.
No, I think we would be, I think we would reach out, we'd have some type of agenda. I think to reach out to the chairs and say, look, what are the big things you're working on? And just have everybody listen. You know, because I think even as people have come before us and we've said, wow, we don't have a limit to earth removal. Wow, we don't have this, we don't have that. We'll see. Might be a bust.
Or the show.
Might be a one and done, Brett. Who knows?
I'll be there with bells on.
There we go. So.
So we do have Holy Angels penciled in, well, actually the board made the decision go ahead July 15th.
Right.
I am lining up because that also is going to be water and sewer hearing date. That'll be a good opportunity with Dennis, with the board, talking about Holy Angels as well. I had a call with the architect from Criterion so that for the 15th, we can make sure that we have detailed, and it's going to be a status because it won't be the full
Right.
report, but they'll have specific recommendations like you need to do X, Y, and Z as part of as we think about that building, painting and all those other activities so that we can have a constructive conversation before we have any warrant even being open and lay things out and identify what we need to pull together.
Work done over there at all?
I saw people.
Oh, they've been,
Criterion
yeah,
building
they've
the
been
other
over
day,
there.
the doors
No,
were-
I mean like the oil tank being removed,
Those are-
the ramp being dealt with.
Those are all July 1st issues.
Oh, gotcha. That was. I know we were sort of like a little hair on fire about the oil tank and
No,
still
it's
sitting there, so.
kind of tough that we have to wait till July, except July 1st is 2 weeks away.
Well, yeah, I mean, the challenge is that it had also been there for 15 years. It's not, it's more the threat, something could happen, but there's no active.
Now, is there oil in those tanks?
According to the fire chief, there's some. But that's the major cost for removal is because it's been set so long and basically is not, there's no value to it. So they're just gonna have to pump it. So, and one of those, and I have it on the 1st or the 15th, but as, you know, for the next agenda item, it may be better to do goal setting with the select board as a separate workshop. That's fine.
You went out to bid for the landscape service contract.
Where we've, I need a funding source. We're gonna be just soliciting quotes. We're gonna be under 10K. It's just getting written quotes and just seeing what comes back. But I need to make sure that the board is supportive of the funding source.
Could we use the trust funds for, would that be beautification?
Beautification would be what we'd be identifying, but it also is making sure that
The land-
from, we can use beautification trust funds. This would be specifically to do spring cleanup, fall cleanup, basic maintenance over the summer for the community center only.
Is there,
So that's where
like any type of a garden club or?
men's club is really what we have, but we
And
don't
they
have
don't-
a garden club. That is something that the board could say, you know what? We'll look for volunteers. We can still appropriate out
Looking
of,
for more projects.
No, I know the men's
Because I
club
tried a
is,
couple of different. I mean,
Well-
and they do so much, so let's
They
be
do.
clear, right? Like, they're busy doing tons of stuff.
It's like a blow room, you
Yeah.
can only do so much.
But it's
Um,
exactly-
No, I was just thinking, with Friends of Upton Seniors, if, and with all of our over 55 and people looking to do things in community gardens and stuff, could we,
Right.
I mean, if we can't had somebody come in and say, look, somebody who knew, with any luck, maybe we have an arborist that says, look, these bushes need to be cut at this time, but yes, landscaping services, but if we could find a group that, like, I know someone, I know the
Yeah.
person that
To
takes
your
care
point,
of
you want
the,
like a garden club mentality. to-
Yes,
To
so for
managing,
example,
maintaining it, not
the-
just like
right.
landscape, just cut stuff down.
Exactly, the island on between North Street and Westboro Road, I know who takes care of that. If we can find somebody, it's gorgeous. And if we can find somebody that would do something similar, even if it was younger people, I mean, you don't have to be old to like to garden, and some people don't have the gardens, especially as we build more and more apartments.
Yeah.
People are looking, I know there were people at Millhouse that got together and formed a garden out there. If we found people that were willing to help, maybe we could save a few dollars here and there. We probably do need a good cleanup and a fall, but maybe moving forward, we could talk to ESS and see, even the library, and say, hey, is there a garden club? Sustainable up? A lot of those people garden. See.
So I can expand that as just more of a general discussion so that if we want to put out a call to and it's willing to volunteer.
Sorry, I get distracted. I was told to sign, I was told to sign this is the nurse agreement.
Because it's very easy for board to adjourn and scatter and then realize we didn't get signatures.
No.
Only two. All right, that's town clerk.
Busy one.
No, these are all- This is the membership for not selling lots. So was there a second one for the cemetery or just one? Okay. For the polls, right? So these are yours. If I leave them.
Oh, you're still doing those 3 lines there. Just sign any one of those lines.
Anyone that she's gonna certify that she's like.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Usually we're breaking in and finding them on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the reason we couldn't hear National Grid was his accent or his speaker.
I think it was a
I think it was
combination of
For a
both.
combination of
It was
both.
a combination of both.
Got it? And flashbacks.
Yeah, because it took me a minute to realize he had an accent because I couldn't hear him that well.
Me
And
neither.
then when I realized he had an accent, I'm like, okay, this is me not hearing because the volume is low and he has an accent.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. I was having
Yeah, I think it was
flashbacks
both.
of court reporter games with that
Yeah.
house. And if you saw my face, I was
And
like.
if I can pick up the accent earlier and discern where it's from, sometimes that helps. But I was like,
Oh.
what kind of an accent is that? And I
He didn't
couldn't
have-
like,
I find I need to see people's faces because I think
Yeah.
I'm a great Facebook. Ah. I just don't want to forget. You guys, these 3 days, all those tickets.
I won't.
I think they usually.
No.
5, and then you get 5, you got it? Well, I don't need it.
Huh?
I don't need it.
Any?
No.
I'll let you guys do that.
She can get fireworks.
Too much
She can get-
pressure.
She can get fireworks just fine from her house.
Yes. I give them to my niece. I will try to go with them. You want some?
I have 5, I have 7 of us. There's capacity,
What that?
but if not, it's fine.
Any, this is tough. This is
Can
what
we went
happens
to
to our
our-
brain when we have this. All right, Ray puts an invitation voice to that. So 77, so that's. Oh. You want some?
Let them write down. No. Let them write down the sentence.
That'll do it.
Easy.
Thank you. Thank you, Men's Club.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I know.
Funny thing is my mother's, where's the form? I need to send my money.
That's great.
It's not going. Okay,
Thank you, board.
you're welcome. So, town manager annual evaluation. I saw the summary, but I don't think we have all the.
No. I would like to request. Maybe if we could get town council to set a process. We talked about conflict of interest at the last meeting. And both of the forms are signed by, come from the town manager's office and that's.
I think it would be a great idea to bring in town council to refine and define what that process should look like.
Well,
I'd also like to get everybody's opinion before we move forward.
But, yeah, do you remember when we did it in executive session? There were just the 3 of us, Derek. And we did the performance we rated. We did everything there. I'm not saying it was right. But this is the thing.
Yeah.
You have someone that works and reports directly to the town manager, compiling the information. And
Yeah.
I know in other towns where they have a situation like that, it's always the chair that compiles it. We never did that either, but we should set a process.
Yeah, I'm not particularly concerned about it myself. I think the process has worked fine. I think Andy puts the stuff together, we look at it.
You don't want, yeah, but you
If
don't
we want to
want,
change the process, I'm fine with changing the process. It doesn't, I'm not worried about it.
you don't want a conflict of interest thing against anybody. That's why I would just like to set the process so that everything's clean.
Yeah.
That works for me.
I don't think it's a conflict of interest, but it is a process between the board and the town manager. You have the ability to change that process at any
process.
point.
Right, we can
Change
make it whatever we
the,
want.
change the criteria.
We can just go by ourselves, there, Joe. I'm good on the
So,
budget.
You know, the one thing that, I would ask is that, we also, besides inviting and town council to talk about process, that, we also just have a workshop basically to go over the criteria and make sure that board expectations, my expectations also align. Under the Managers Act and the contract, we also have to define goals, and that would be a great thing to wrap into all the other 2 items as well.
Well, it should be. It's all part of the merit review.
And I think the clearer we are, the better we are moving forward.
Yeah.
Especially because I've never done it before. So you guys have history. I don't.
So that is a policy on the books
Okay.
for 360 feedback. I gave it so that, when we think about having a workshop, previous select board members had to find a process and wanted to just give you a copy. You may not be aware because I actually wasn't really aware of it either.
Right.
And it may provide some, say, basis for making sure that we're all on the same page.
I was thinking if we set a policy for things that we.
Yeah.
You know, we have questions about, we just set it and put it in writing.
Yeah.
It's cleaner that way.
It was passed December 4th, 2012.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us were here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we were going, Sandy, to go through those. Remember I made copies? for you?
Yes.
Maybe we should do a couple.
Probably three. Well, there's some that, you know, this one says that and that one says that, but they kind of need, one's ambiguous with the other.
Yeah,
Time to clean them up.
yeah, there's a lot we need to clean up because as I said before, I think before the advent of computers, everything was on paper, but.
Oh, no, I want to see the policy.
Oh, there you go.
Computers didn't help.
No.
I think they made it worse.
I think they may have. And I'll tell you, Microsoft 360 seems to eat my documents. The new 11, I don't know if it's 11 or what, but I don't like it.
Keep in mind, this policy is partly the town manager providing feedback to the board members.
Yes. I have to say, Joe,
I think
in your
that's
manager's thing
important as well.
tonight, where you specifically said what you talked about with coffee, that was helpful.
Mhm.
I think that was the first time you did that, and that was helpful. So, yeah.
Usually I'll send out an email, but, you know, it's,
To see it, what you
Always.
discussed and what the residents are concerned with.
And I think as a board, opening ourselves to feedback
Oh.
from experts
Oh,
as
yeah.
well is
I think so.
gonna be something.
Like tonight, we said, what do we do? And we let them take over.
You know, if you learn something new, it's a good day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm gonna, I know we talked about patching the walls. And those two pictures have been driving me bananas too.
I literally had the thought, I'm gonna get the clay and I'm gonna come in here with a level and I'm gonna freaking straighten these
Well,
pictures
well,
out.
when you were saying, Joe, don't let them disappear before we patch the walls, I'm like, we need more hooks because that is the worst I've ever, usually I don't care, I'm making fun of them,
I know.
but I almost gonna.
Got to you tonight. That's good. Got to you.
Yeah.
Good.
It got to me, maybe because I was listening to Mary Overall.
I sat down behind in front of them.
Yeah, it got to me big time.
Action tape.
I know.
Love it.
Touch
All of a
base.
sudden I.
Well, I heard him talking about everybody leaving, you know, all the contracts being done. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be forever. If they don't get done now, they're never gonna get billed. I'm gonna look at these holes for the 2 years.
It's gonna be standing on the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
parking lot and then that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the two things.
Nice.
Come on, the yellow bands, man, things are gone. I love it. Well, actually, now they're up front. It's temporary.
It's getting short.
It's getting closer to out the door, exactly.
All right, so, do I hear a motion to, did everyone review the minutes? And I think that's the last thing on the agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
And what are we gonna do about the town manager evaluation and the 60-degree feedback from board members?
Well, I think we said.
Reach out to town
Town
council,
council.
get that some assistance, and then we can work on scheduling a workshop to discuss.
Okay. All right.
I
Sounds like
think that sounds like a plan. So, do I hear a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes?
You gonna do it, Brett? I make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 3rd for the select board.
Second emotion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
Now, second.
Unanimous at 8:46.